Join you in reckless abandon? Othello's voice dripped sarcasm. His body resisted any pull toward her, yet deep within, the line between tenderness and frustration blurred beneath the surface. What happens when you unmask and realize the faces are painted with deceit? You don't know that about me, she replied quietly, a tremor of vulnerability lurking beneath her fierce demeanor. Around them, the laughter resumed, a testament to the way friendships could patch over tension. But the distance between Othello and Chloe vibrated with unsaid words, with secrets that stretched back a decade. Both loomed larger than the stars above. Maybe it's not just masks you're afraid of, Othello, Chloe pressed, unaware of the way her words sliced through the air, drawing a collective inhale from their audience. His jaw clenched, betraying the storm within. Perhaps you should reconsider what you wish to unveil, Chloe. Some truths are more venomous than you think. Suddenly the group erupted into laughter at a new comedic tale spun by some unseen character, pulling the tension momentarily. But Chloe's gaze remained locked on Othello, electric and demanding. Just as she was about to reply, the air thickened with silence. Othello's expression softened, just a fraction, revealing the ghosts of his guilt gnawing at him. Do you really want to know what haunts me, or are you just looking for a fight? The silence stretched, filled with unspoken wonders. I want to know the truth, Chloe said softly, her voice unyielding. Then prepare for what comes next, Othello replied, his breath caught in the palpable tension. As laughter resumed, it enveloped them, but all they felt was the searing focus on one another under the blanket of stars, the onset of something profound, something beyond the masks they had both worn for too long. Behind them, life continued unfazed, but they had stepped onto the precipice of everything. Scene 42, Surprise Hostage Exchange. The air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked asphalt and the distant hum of city life, but inside the dimly lit warehouse, tension crackled far more palpably. Chloe Carver adjusted the collar of her navy blazer, her fingers trembling slightly as she tucked a stray curl behind her ear. The flickering overhead lights cast a jittery glow, illuminating the scattered crates and the hulking shadow of Othello Huxley, pacing near a grimy window. Othello's brow was furrowed, his shoulders stiff, the very embodiment of anxiety, masked in confidence. When he turned to her, his body language spoke volumes. The intensity in his dark eyes, the way his jaw clenched as he surveyed the empty expanse of the warehouse, heightened Chloe's pulse. He opened his mouth to speak, but the sound of a door creaking interrupted the moment. Looks like the welcoming committee's here, Chloe said, her voice laced with sarcasm, betraying the slight quiver she couldn't suppress. She stood taller, squaring her shoulders, determination igniting a fire beneath her facade. A group entered 4 figures, their faces obscured by the shadows and old caps pulled low. They paused, scanning the room like wolves sizing up their prey. I thought we had this trade sorted, one of them said, his voice gruff as gravel. He shoved a crumpled piece of paper toward Othello. What's this? Othello grabbed the paper, the muscles in his arm flexing as he flipped it open. His fingers were a delicate balance of fury and control. This doesn't match our agreement. You know that? Chloe's heart raced. She caught the lingering glance Othello shot her, an unspoken question. Would she back him up? Would she push the past behind her? And why the hell should we trust you? The man retorted, stepping forward menacingly. Every syllable dripped in challenge. This is a new game we're playing, Othello. I've heard whispers. Your past is catching up. The weight of that accusation hung heavy in the air. Chloe felt her throat tighten. She stepped closer, her breath steadying her nerves. You can't just throw accusations around and expect us to meekly comply. We've got nothing to hide. Her eyes darted between the men, calculating, searching for the right moment to assert dominance. Othello glanced at her, surprise flaring in his features. Amusement followed closely, like a playful shadow. Look at you, Chloe, brave front and all. Bravery didn't help your family in the last deal, one of the masked men muttered, and a growl of anger rippled through Othello's throat. Before he could respond, a sudden commotion erupted from outside, the sound of screeching tires and shouts. It sent a jolt through the room. The men exchanged alarmed looks, their focus splitting. Stay alert, one barked, eyes darting toward the warehouse doors. It's either reinforcements or our chance to ditch. Or something entirely different, Chloe remarked dryly, stealing a furtive glance outside. I'd bet my next paycheck on chaos. With an unsteady breath, Othello stepped toward her, urgency flowing between them like a current. He grabbed her hand, a solid grasp that brought an unexpected warmth. You need to trust me, he said, his voice low, intent. Get ready. Ready for what? Chloe retorted, half annoyed, half enthusiastic. She could feel the adrenaline thrumming in her veins, the predicaments transforming the air into something electric. But Othello had already turned toward the door, eyes narrowing as he prepared for the unexpected. A lithe figure burst through, the light exposing glossy curls, Maria, Othello's younger sister, breathless and wide-eyed. Chloe, you need to. Before she could finish, the tension detonated. The masked men stormed, and chaos erupted. The sharp sound of a fist crashing against the wooden crate resonated, scattering wood splinters. Chloe steadied herself, adrenaline pushing her to a stand as she watched Othello tackle one of the aggressors effortlessly. Don't let them break the perimeter, Othello shouted as he wrestled with the man, while Chloe pushed forward, her heart a wild drum, fighting the urge to retreat. The warehouse reverberated with shouts and the scattered sound of chaos, but Chloe felt an odd sense of empowerment surging. This was not just an exchange, it was a revelation, a dawning clarity amidst the turmoil. Stay close, Othello instructed as he dealt a decisive blow to the man's midsection, propelling him away. More than anything, I want this to be over, Chloe fired back, her voice caught between desperation and resolve. For us, for everything. Their gazes locked, and in that electric moment, amidst the chaos, she saw the man he could be, if only they could unravel the bindings of their shared past. Then let's make it count, he replied, determination flooding his voice. With that, they plunged back into the melee, a flurry of movement and unspoken promises, ready to challenge not just their circumstances, but the very fate of their conflicted hearts. Scene 43, the return of old flames. The scent of freshly polished wood mixed with a hint of sandalwood candles embraces the room, stirring memories of intimate conversations, laughter, and the bittersweet taste of regret. Othello Huxley stands at the sleek bar, an amber drink in hand, slight tremors in his grip reflecting the reverberations of a long-buried past. He watches the opulent gathering through the glass, feeling momentarily disconnected from the sparkle illuminated by the chandelier's glow above him. Just as he's about to turn away, the door swings open, ushering in a gust of cool night air infused with jasmine, stirring unexpected nostalgia. Chloe Carver, poised and confident, enters the scene, but is quickly eclipsed by the commanding presence of a striking figure behind her, a woman with smooth caramel skin and striking dark hair cascading over her shoulders. Othello's eyes narrow involuntarily, Kira Bennett. His first love, the one whose memory lingered like an unfinished song. Her laughter dances through the air as she greets old friends, a sound both inviting and razor-edged as it cuts through Chloe's facade of composure. Chloe's heart constricts, a flood of envy washing over her. She compulsively adjusts a loose strand of hair, blinking away the sting of vulnerability. The warmth she had felt earlier fades, washed away by the tidal wave of memories that Kira's presence ignites within the room. The conversations bubble on around her, but they feel distant, as if Chloe is submerged underwater, straining to catch snippets of a world that no longer includes her. Look who decided to crash the party, Kira declares, her voice like silk threading through the air. She glides towards Othello, oblivious to the shifting atmosphere. A dynamic shift ensues, and Chloe clenches her jaw, the sound of her breath sharp in her ears. Fancy seeing you here, Kira, Othello replies, his tone smooth yet cautious, avoiding the slight crack in his wall. Kira beams, stepping closer. You know how much I love a good gathering, especially one full of successful people, but I see you still attract the best company with a simple smile. Chloe stiffens, caught between a cocktail of anger and admiration. She opens her mouth, but is interrupted by a loud clattering as a waiter stumbles, drawing attention away from the tension. Here's to Othello, the king of charm and elegance. A voice calls from the gathering crowd, punctuating the air like an unexpected gunshot. The group erupts in laughter, eyes darting between Kira and Othello, anticipation simmering. Looks like he's still got it, Chloe mutters under her breath, her words like a storm cloud creeping in over the sunny skies of the party. Kira's gaze flickers to her, a knowing smirk teasing at the corners of her mouth. He's always had it, Kira counters, her eyes glistening dangerously. But we all know charm fades without honesty and commitment. The silence that follows is pregnant with tension. Audience members shifting nervously in their seats as they vie for the next blow in this unspoken challenge. Chloe's posture sharpens, her anger igniting the air around her. And yet here we are, revelers in a chamber filled with deception, she retorts, throwing fuel onto the fire, her tone equal parts scornful and sharp. The crowd collectively holds its breath. Deception? Kira lets out a laugh that feels like broken glass. Oh, don't be ridiculous. If there's anyone who needs to confront honesty, it's you. Haven't you learned yet that clinging to the past will only weigh you down? The tension escalates, vibrations pulsing through the gathering as Othello steps forward, the temperature in the room shifting drastically. He gestures at Kira. Let's dial it back. We're here to celebrate, right? Celebrate what? Chloe interjects, her voice slicing through the drunken reverie. A man who got tangled in lies, who brought my family to its knees. Her voice rises, a crescendo of pent-up feelings escaping, igniting the previously vibrant room with the intensity of a fireworks display. Chloe, not here, Othello warns, but it is too late. Chloe's need for truth spills over, igniting the air between them. Kira interjects with a chilling calm. Is that not the pattern, dear Chloe? Always the victim? Or are you merely afraid to accept that Othello's heart has not been open to you? Chloe's breathing quickens, pulse racing as she feels the spotlight blaze down on her. What do you know about my heart? She snaps, a fierce glint igniting in her eyes. It's simpler than you think, Kira replies, silkily seductive. Sometimes it's love or revenge, dear. Which one do you choose tonight? As the music swells, the clash of emotional adversaries pierces the depths of the room with heat. With Kira's piercing words still echoing, they stand at the edge of a cliff. A chasm opened between them, a fractured world spiraling with unresolved feelings and unspoken truths. For a brief moment, Chloe and Othello lock eyes, the past threatening to entrap them both before surrendering to what the moment truly demands, a rekindling, an awakening, or the weight of a betrayal, no longer hidden. Tonight's the night then, isn't it? Chloe challenges, a fire igniting in her voice. The first taste of what could be as the storm swirls. Scene 44, a night of confessions. The flickering candlelight cast a warm glow over the small, makeshift hideout, an abandoned, dust-covered art studio that had once hummed with creativity but was now laden with tension and unspoken words. Othello Huxley leaned against a wall, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his jeans, a glimmer of turmoil dancing in his stormy eyes. He could still hear the echo of chaos from earlier in the night, volatile shouts, pounding footsteps, the almost overwhelming scent of fear mingling with the musk of drying paint. Across the room, Chloe Carver stood before a crumbling easel, remnants of a once vibrant canvas leaning precariously to one side. The paint was chipped and faded, mirroring her own battle won between vulnerability and the ferocity demanded by her recent memories. She turned slightly, allowing her gaze to lock onto Othello's. There was an intensity between them, thick as the air before a thunderstorm, ripe with daring confessions waiting to be unleashed. Othello broke the silence first, his voice low but urgent. We need to talk about what happened. I can't keep pretending none of this exists. Chloe scoffed softly, hurt laced in her tone. Pretending? You think any of this is easy for me? You hold the power to expose everything I've tried to bury. Do you have any idea how that feels? His brows knitted, a shadow crossing his handsome features. It's not just you, Chloe. He hesitated, mouth tightening into a line. The guardedness that usually enveloped him seemed to crack ever so slightly, revealing the turmoil underneath. I have my own demons, and they're not going away just because I fight them. Chloe stepped closer, curiosity tinged with the electric hum of unresolved feelings. Then let's face them together. If we're going to survive this, we can't just hide our truths anymore. A moment of unexpected vulnerability washed over Othello's face, and his posture softened. You deserve to know the whole story, about the business, about my past, about why I did what I did. The fire in Chloe's eyes flared. Do you think I wouldn't understand? Do you think I'd run away from you because of your past? A pause stretched between them, thick and poignant. Othello, you don't have to carry this alone. He inhaled sharply, the scent of linseed oil surrounding them, wrapping them in a suspended moment. I ruined everything for you, Chloe. I can't take that back, and I can't bear to see you hurt because of me. Chloe's breath quickened, every heartbeat echoing in her ears as the weight of his admission carved at the walls she had carefully constructed. You didn't ruin anything, Othello. Didn't I? He stepped forward, the flickering light casting shadows that danced across his rugged features. You're the most ambitious person I know, and I... His fingers tightened momentarily into fists, a mix of regret and longing evident in his eyes. I thought I was out of your life for good. With a trembling determination, she closed the distance between them. Maybe you were, but you're back now, and maybe I need you to be here. The vulnerability between them thickened, and their breaths intermingled, a delicate dance of what-ifs and longing. Othello's gaze darted to her lips, and for a heartbeat, they both teetered on the precipice of something grand and terrifying. The air crackled with unsaid words, their surroundings fading into the background as they stood witness to a moment years in the making. Chloe, he whispered, desperation and desire threading through his voice. What if we... Stop thinking, she interrupted, grounding them both, and with a sudden, fierce resolve, she crossed the final barrier. Her hands, delicate yet determined, cupped his face as their lips brushed in a soft, tentative meeting, a whisper of connection igniting the air around them. The tension broke, unraveling the chaos of their lives in a simple kiss, sweet and profound in its simplicity. The warmth spread from their mouths, in the dawning realization of a connection neither had fully acknowledged until this very moment. Why did it take us so long? Chloe murmured against his lips, breathless. Maybe we were just waiting for the right kind of chaos, Othello replied softly, an amused light flickering in his eyes. And in the midst of disorder, both chaos and clarity began to intertwine, their moment igniting a profound transformation neither could escape. As they lingered on the cusp of something transformative, the distant sounds of the world outside faded, replaced by a tentative hope threading its way through the remnants of their intertwined pasts. Scene 45, twists and turns. The dimly lit attic of the abandoned warehouse hummed with tension. Dust motes danced in the shafts of fading twilight spilling through shattered windows, creating an ethereal glow that clashed starkly with the heaviness in the air. Chloe stood near the far wall, her arms crossed protectively over her chest, feeling the chill seep through her skin and into her bones. Outside, a storm brewed, echoes of thunder rumbling like ominous drums, mirroring the turmoil within the group of captives huddled together. Othello paced just a few feet away, his broad shoulders tight with the weight of unspoken guilt. The lines around his eyes deepened as he shot Chloe a glance, the heat of his stare igniting a flicker of recognition and conflict inside her. She returned his look defiantly, her heart racing as the raw history between them filled the room like uninvited smoke. How could she warm to him now, when the past wrapped around them like a noose? From the corner, a sharp voice cut through the heavy silence. This is all your fault. We've been stuck here for hours. It was Marcus, gripping a splintered beam for balance as he glared at Othello. The strain in his voice was palpable, and it escalated like a live wire, igniting the other's frustrations. Calm down, Marcus. Yelling won't help our situation, a soothing voice chimed in. Lisa, ever the peacemaker, moved toward Marcus, but he shrugged her off, his expression a mix of fear and resentment. Maybe if he hadn't gotten us into this mess. Marcus started, but Othello sharply interrupted. I was the one who got us into this mess? Othello's voice raised, the underlying hurt surfacing. I didn't ask to be taken hostage. If you want someone to blame, look elsewhere. As the storm outside raged, so did the tempest within the warehouse. Everyone, quiet. Chloe's voice, initially steady, wavered as it was seized by the frustration of years of unresolved issues. Unnerved by the intensity of their circumstances, she stepped forward. We need to focus on getting out of here before they decide we're more trouble than we're worth. Othello's expression shifted, tension fading into something more contemplative. She's right, he nodded, casting his gaze at each member of their group, feeling the weight of responsibility for them all spill into his chest. I know the layout. If we get the right moment, we can stage a breakout. But we can't do this if we're divided. Sudden howling wind rattled the windows, emphasizing the precariousness of their situation. Just then, overhead, a slamming door broke the silence like a gunshot. The captives froze, eyes darting in every direction, hearts hammering. Before anyone could react, the sound of heavy boots reverberated through the floorboards, sending a fresh wave of anxiety racing through their bodies. "They're coming," Lisa shouted, panic rising. "Chloe, stay close to me," Othello insisted, taking a step towards her, but stopping short, the proximity almost magnetic. In that moment, the past 10 years melted away, drawing forth emotions they'd both tried to harbor. Visibly shaken, Chloe pressed her lips together, her voice steadying. "Just tell me what to do." Anxiety threaded through her bravado, igniting a fire she could no longer deny. "I won't let anything happen to you," Othello vowed, a fierce determination crossing his features. But as he rose to take charge, a series of muffled voices interrupted their moment, a quarrel among their captors echoing from the ground floor. "Wait, what if we create a distraction?" Marcus interjected, buzzing with newfound energy. "Something noisy. They'll have to investigate." The idea was dumb but desperate, feeding into the chaos brewing around them. Before anyone could further deliberate, Marcus and his impulsiveness erupted into action, finding an old pipe resting in the shadows. "Hey, over here!" he yelled, swinging the pipe against the walls, creating an alarming echo that ricocheted through the building. "Are you out of your mind?" Lisa shrieked, wide-eyed as the ceiling shook with their captor's approach. Chloe faced Othello, their barriers crashing down as tension morphed into an almost electrifying desperation. Her heart thrumming with fierce vulnerability, she whispered, "If this doesn't work." But his response was cut short as a door creaked open at the far end of the attic, silhouetting the threat that loomed in the doorway. The storm outside united with the sudden shift, drowning them in darkness. "Together," Othello murmured, eyes locked on hers, the air thick with unvoiced emotions, anticipation, and something undeniable that coursed fiercely between them. "Whatever happens next, we face it side by side." And with that, the stakes rose, a reminder that alliances could fracture or grow stronger in a heartbeat, just like their hearts, taut with memories and the possibilities of what could be. Scene 46. A tenuous trust. The dim light of a flickering bulb cast shadows that danced around the cramped warehouse, where the scent of damp concrete mingled with the faint metallic tang of tension hanging in the air. Heavy footsteps echoed in the chilly silence, interspersed with the distant sound of muffled voices and the insistent ticking of a clock that seemed to mock their predicament. Chloe Carver stood, arms crossed, watching Othello Huxley as he tried to pry open an uncooperative door, his brow furrowed in concentration. The muscles of his broad shoulders tensed under his fitted shirt, and a flicker of frustration crossed his face. Chloe couldn't help but draw her gaze to him during this mundane task, something so critical yet layered with unspoken weight. "Do you always have to be this impossibly stubborn?" she asked, leaning back against a stack of crates, her voice steady but laced with an edge that belied her keen observation. Othello paused for a moment, his fingers dragging down the cool metal handle as he turned to her, his dark eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart quicken. "Stubborn? Maybe. Resourceful? Definitely." He flashed a smirk, but there was a shadow behind it, a haunted flicker that Chloe recognized well. "Resourcefulness doesn't exactly seem to be helping us right now, does it?" she quipped, her irritation bubbling forth. Chloe felt the weight of their shared history behind them. Years of unvoiced feelings and burdensome secrets lay in that silence like a thick fog. He stepped closer, his tone dropping as the air thickened with unspoken truths. "You think I don't want out of here as much as you do?" Her pulse quickened at the proximity, yet vulnerability clawed at her. "How do I know you're not just playing a part, Othello? You've always been good at pretending." "Pretending?" he echoed, disbelief threading through his voice. "You think this is a game?" He took a step back, his expression tightening. "After everything," Chloe's breath caught, the mention of their past an unwelcome specter thrumming between them. "After everything, I'm supposed to just trust you? Trust me?" Othello's voice elevated, a mix of disbelief and frustration. "What about me screams untrustworthy?" "It's not what screams, it's what lingers in silence," she replied softly, emotion creasing her brow. They stood inches apart now, the space between them charged with an intensity both familiar and frightening. "Silence can lie," he said, the warmth of his breath almost brushing against her skin. "What about the words I've said, the promises I've made?" Chloe felt the ghosts of their shared laughter and arguments blend into the air around them, a cacophony of emotions swirling like leaves in a storm. "What promises? You ruined my family's dream. You don't think about that, do you?" Her words landed heavily between them, and the heat of anger ignited in his gaze. "I didn't ruin anything on purpose. You have to know that. My back was against the wall, and sometimes you do what you have to survive." "What about my family's survival?" she countered, fists clenching at her side. The memories of loss and betrayal flickered in her mind like a strobe light, blinding and chaotic. "Chloe," her name hung in the air, fragile and pleading. He inched closer, a silent understanding passing between them, a recognition of shared pain, an awareness of their past pulling at them both. Her heart raced as she watched him navigate a minefield of emotions, his expression flickering from defensiveness to something softer, an intensity that felt both dangerous and irresistible. "I need you to see me, Othello, and I need you to believe," he whispered, his voice low, urging, a tremor breaking through. As the tension hung heavy, the way their lives had collided openly echoed in the hollow space around them. And in that moment, a fleeting softness bridged the gap, an unguarded glance, a breath held too long. But the looming shadows carried sharper edges, the whimper of their surroundings reasserting itself. "Trust takes time," Chloe finally said, swallowing hard, her gaze locked on his, lingering delicately. Othello met her eyes, unwavering. "Then let's find that time together." Their moment lingered like music suspended in the air, neither willing to step away or close the distance, both knowing they were just beginning to untangle the threads of trust from the fabric of betrayal. Scene 47. Emotional exposures. The aftermath of chaos clung to the air like the heavy scent of fresh rain melding with asphalt. Othello Huxley stood on the decaying wooden dock, his chest rising and falling rapidly, each breath a battle against the weight of the secrets he harbored. He watched the horizon, where storm clouds brewed, mirroring the tempest roiling within him. The sun dipped low, casting a golden hue that seemed almost too serene for the turmoil of their lives. Chloe Carver approached, her steps faltering as she drew closer, explosive anger flickering in her honey-brown eyes. "You think we can just walk away from this?" Her voice, sharp and cutting, sliced through the night air. "You betrayed everything, my family." He turned to her, the pain in his chest tightening as if the world itself conspired against them. "You don't understand, Chloe. I was trying to protect you, from me." The words slipped through his lips, heavy with an honesty he had long fought to contain. She paused, the minutiae of his confession hanging like fog between them. "Protect me, or was it easier to shatter our lives from a distance?" Her hands, clenched into fists, betrayed the hurt hidden beneath her bravado. Just then, a crack of thunder resonated above them, shaking the very ground they stood on. "You think I wanted this?" Othello shouted, jagged emotions breaking free as they were both caught in the storm of their unresolved past. "Every decision I made led to this chaos. I couldn't tell you, couldn't bear to see the fallout." Chloe stepped forward, fierce determination mingling with tears threatening to spill. "Then what do you want from me? What do you expect after everything that's happened?" The tempest in her voice echoed the storms above. He took a breath, chest tightening further as he advanced toward her, close enough so that every nuance of her expression flickered warmth against his cold reality. "I want you to see me for who I am now," he pleaded, vulnerability threading through his otherwise steely demeanor. With a soft gasp, she replied, "And who is that, Othello? The deceitful man who hides behind layers of charm and false bravado." Taking a step closer, he lowered his voice, the impending rain now a distant thought. "The man who regrets his choices, who sees hope only in your eyes, who longs for a future, not just a past." His honesty surged, like water over a dam, crashing against the walls they'd both built. Silence enveloped them, a fragile moment brimming with tension. Chloe bit her lip, her gaze flickering from his eyes to the ground. Memories swirled between them, the laughter they once shared now marred by betrayal, by loss. "Do you even see me?" The question trembled on her lips, poised like a shooting star ready to vanish. He reached out, fingertips brushing against her chin, lifting her gaze to his. "Every moment," he breathed. "You're all I see, but can you ever forgive me?" Desire and desperation collided in the confined space around them. Without thinking, Chloe closed the distance, their breaths mingling, both hesitant and electric. The storm above rumbled, drawing closer, yet all that existed was this stolen moment, suspended in time. As she leaned in, the air crackled, a tension electrified by unresolved longing and a profound fear of what lay ahead. Their lips brushed gently, exploring the soft territory between pain and solace, and in that fleeting moment, all their anger faded, consumed by a wildfire of everything unspoken. Each pulse ignited memories of laughter, shared dreams, the taste of hope that tasted almost sweet, yet edged with sorrow. But just as urgency seized them both, the loud slap of rain hit the nearby surface, drenching them in the reality of their surroundings. Othello pulled back, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're still the same people." Chloe dipped her head, a shuddering breath escaping her. "Then let's not forget how far we've fallen," she murmured, the stark reality carving a path in her heart, where fire met regret. They stood in the storm together, love on the edge of redemption and betrayal reverberating between them. How could they navigate this tempest of love and lies? Scene 48. The weight of consequences. The late afternoon sun filled through the thick canopy of leaves, casting dappled shadows on the moss-covered ground. A gentle breeze rustled the branches above, sending whispers through the trees, yet the air hung heavy with an unspoken tension. Chloe Carver stood at the mouth of the forest, her heart pounding like a drum, each beat echoing the memories and resentments she wished she could leave behind. In the distance, laughter echoed from the nearby picnic, where friends forged bonds untroubled by memories of betrayal, while Chloe wrestled with hers. Is this how it ends? Othello Huxley emerged from the thicket, his silhouette framed by the golden light, solid as the ancient oaks surrounding them. His voice was low, gravelly, and yet somehow tender, exerting a magnetic pull that made Chloe's resolve waver. "Us like this?" Chloe clenched her fists, feeling the damp earth beneath her polished shoes. "What choice do we have? Every step we take toward each other feels like a betrayal to everyone else, to the past." She brushed aside a lock of hair, her composure teetering. "Especially to my family." His brow furrowed, and for a moment they stood in silence, the weight of their shared history hanging between them like the lingering scent of the forest after a rain. "You know how much I wish things were different," Othello said, stepping closer. His confidence faltered, revealing a vulnerability only she could sense. "I never wanted you to suffer for my mistakes." "What about the consequences of your actions?" Chloe shot back, the hurt in her voice echoing harshly against the serene backdrop. "You ruined everything." Othello's jaw tightened. "I was a fool. I thought I was making the right decisions." He inhaled sharply, a sense of urgency igniting in his gaze. "But I'd give anything to turn back time, to protect you, your family." Chloe turned away, the sunlight gleaming off the distant lake like a polished gem. She wanted to believe him, wanted to step into the embrace of the man before her, but the shadows of bitterness were deep, etched into her soul. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Othello. Every time I look at you, I see the destruction." A tense moment stretched between them, laden with unexpressed desires and unresolved anger. As the laughter from the picnic faded into the background, Othello reached out, brushing his fingers against Chloe's arm, sending tingles coursing through her. It was electric, a stark contrast to the churning storm within her. "Just give me a chance to prove I can be better," he urged, his voice barely above a whisper. "Let's not be prisoners of the past." Chloe bit her lip, indecision swirling in her gut. She desperately wanted to abandon the heaviness of her heart, to gravitate towards the warmth in his eyes. Yet the memories of a darker time lingered like smoke in her lungs, suffocating their potential. "And what if I can't? What if loving you just means more heartbreak?" Suddenly, a rustle sounded from the bushes. They both turned to see a pair of figures emerge, Talia and Marcus, two friends with expressions well-furnished in intrigue. Talia, her fierce energy filling the clearing, chimed in before the silence could deepen. "Hey, what's this? A dramatic standoff? We don't do that here." Come join us, lovebirds. We have improvisational games in full swing. Yeah, leave the existential crisis for later, Marcus added with a playful smirk. Trust me, you don't want the audience to miss out on your debut performance in emotional vulnerability. The crowd thrives on conflict. Chloe glared at them, the corners of her mouth twitching with suppressed amusement despite the storm within. Funny, Marcus. This is not a game. Not yet, but it could be, Talia insisted with a mischievous glint in her eye. Come on, you'll need to let loose. Yeah, forget the brooding. It's holding you back, Marcus said, lightly linking his arm with Chloe's. What do you say, Chloe? Are you with us, or are we doomed to watch you two pout here? Othello sighed deeply, the tension easing but still pervasive. I think I'll take whatever's left of this potential redemption. Thank you. With a hesitant smile, Chloe allowed Marcus to pull her away from the weight of her past, while Othello trailed behind, redemption shimmering in the space between them, as heavy as regret and as light as hope. Next game, dive into your darkest secrets, Talia teased, glancing back with a wink. Might be a fun challenge, right? And so they moved into the uncertain light, the shadows trailing behind, whispers of the past weaving into the laughter of the future. The road to reconciliation wasn't easy, but in that fleeting moment, laughter felt like a lifeline. Chloe and Othello exchanged glances, the flicker of something undeniably profound lingering as they stepped forward together. Scene 49. Overcoming obstacles. The sun hung low in the sky, its golden hue spilling across the worn wooden beams of the spacious loft. Chloe Carver stood before a vibrant canvas, the paintbrush trembling in her grip as she studied the strokes she had laid just hours before. Each color called to her in vibrant shades, fiery reds and cool blues mingled with purples, evoking emotions she struggled to articulate. The air was thick with the lingering scent of linseed oil and fresh paint, combining with the subtle undertone of cinnamon from a candle she had lit in the corner. Chloe dipped her brush into a pot of deep black paint, its richness a stark contrast to the pallor of her cheeks. She hesitated, the moment hanging like a delicate spider's web, fragile and taut. Behind her, Othello Huxley leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, his presence as grounding as the hardwood floor beneath her feet. That's not how you feel, Chloe, he said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to wrap around her, coaxing her from within her own thoughts. Isn't it? She replied, turning slightly, her tone playful yet edged with a bite. Or are you just trying to avoid the mess of emotion that comes with a splash of chaos on the canvas? Mess is part of the process, Othello countered with a slight smile, stepping into the room. But you're avoiding something deeper. His eyes, dark pools filled with intensity, captured hers. It was always like this between them, full of unspoken words and layered meanings, neither willing to lay everything bare. Chloe turned back to the canvas, her heartbeat thrumming in her ears, the feel of the paintbrush slipping through her fingers abruptly replaced with the weight of his gaze. And what do you know about chaos? She shot back, swirling the brush in the paint, as if to ward him off. Othello took a step forward, closing the distance between them. More than you'd think, he said, a hint of vulnerability threading through his normally confident demeanor. But I'm not the one hiding behind a canvas. Right, she replied, tempering her voice to conceal a crack of doubt. You've got it all figured out, don't you? He stepped back, giving her space while the room pulsed with tension. No, he said, his voice softer, laced with sincerity. But I'm right here if you want to talk. Not about the colors or the mess, but about you. Chloe shook her head, feeling a rush of frustration swell within her. Talk about what exactly my family's collapse? The fact you were part of it? The words burst forth, sharp-edged and unfiltered. I was trying to survive, Othello admitted, his tone dropping, almost pleading. Just like you. The room fell silent, the weight of their past hanging in the air like a thick fog. Chloe's chest tightened, the admission cut deeper than she expected. She turned back to her canvas, swiping the paintbrush across the board with reckless abandon, leaving a bold stroke that felt strangely liberating. You don't get to justify that, she said, though the fire in her voice flickered weakly. No, I don't, he conceded, his eyes narrowing slightly, filled with an intensity that fueled her resistance. But neither do you get to ignore the undeniable connection we have. Her breath stilled at his words, a soft challenge, a reminder of evenings spent sharing dreams, laughter, and something deeper that had always simmered beneath their exchange. Her heart raced as past memories threatened to surface, illuminating corners of her mind she had tried to keep shrouded in shadow. "I wish I could hate you for what happened," she said, voice laced with a mixture of defiance and longing. "But hating you is as complex as the way I feel about painting." "You don't have to hate me to be angry," he offered, stepping closer, his presence an anchor as she fought to navigate her turmoil. "And maybe you don't have to paint over the hurt either. Maybe you can start from where you are and let it become part of your canvas." She turned to meet his gaze again, and in that moment, vulnerability washed over them, exposing their shared scars, yet illuminating the potential for something more. "You're suggesting I embrace the chaos?" "I'm suggesting we embrace it together," he replied, reaching out, fingers brushing against her wrist as he studied the colors spilling from her canvas. "Whatever it is you're feeling, let it out." Chloe drew in a breath, feeling the heat of his touch linger even as he stepped away, a yearning rising within her. It was an invitation to cross a line she had been afraid to approach. "What if I don't know how to begin?" Othello took her paintbrush, dipped it in a vivid gold, and returned it to her. "Start here. The light is often hidden within the chaos." There was a charged silence as their eyes locked, a world revolving just around them, the flicker of hope igniting like a spark. Chloe hesitated, the brush hovering above the canvas. "Together, then?" she asked, her heart pounding against her ribcage. "Together," Othello affirmed, his smirk returning, a gentle but confident fire at the heart of this tumultuous but thrilling interplay of possibility. And as they both leaned in to paint the moment, a swirl of colors erupting into a masterpiece yet unknown, the walls built around them began to crumble. Scene 50. Moments of clarity. Chloe leaned against the cool metal wall of the abandoned warehouse, the air heavy with the scent of rust and old oil, sharp against her senses. A distant hammering sound rang through the echoing space, reverberating like her pulse thrumming louder in her ears. It felt like a century ago since they had all been crammed together here, desperately concocting plans that fluctuated with each new turn of circumstances. Now, her thoughts were tangled, a kaleidoscope of anger, desire, and confusion. She pushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture as much about gathering her thoughts as taming her wild emotions. Othello was just a few feet away, his body tense, muscles coiled as if ready to spring into action. Yet, it wasn't just the tension of the situation that held him there, it was the weight of the past. His gaze flickered toward her, lingering just long enough for her to catch the vulnerability beneath his bravado. "Do you ever wonder how we got here?" Othello said, not breaking eye contact. "Just you and me, against everyone else." Chloe's heart tightened at his question, an uninvited rush of heat flooding her cheeks. He set her core alight with a single glance. She didn't want to feel this way about him, but his presence tugged at something buried deep within, teasing out memories that were both comforting and painful. "It's like we're in a spy movie," she replied, trying to lighten the looming gray clouds of melancholy gathering in the air. "Just waiting for the heavy hitters to come crashing through the door." He chuckled, but his laughter was strained, brittle. Less James Bond, more Die Hard at a warehouse vibe. Chloe couldn't help but smile, despite the dire circumstances. And yet here we are, the unlikely duo. She stepped closer, their personal space diminishing as she leaned forward, seeking his warmth. "What next, Othello? How do we escape this?" "By confronting what's been keeping us trapped," he murmured, the tension palpable between them. The room dimmed, shadows stretching across the cement floor as the gloom encroached on the intensity of the moment. Othello's jaw clenched and his lips parted slightly, as if preparing to speak, but instead, he shifted forward. Closer. Their breaths mingled, quick and measured, the world outside fading into a murmur as the focus narrowed to just the two of them. "Chloe," he started, the weight of her name thick with meaning, but he faltered. The fear in his eyes suggested a truth he was terrified to voice. Was it the truth of their shared history? Or perhaps something more personal? "You don't have to say it," she breathed, reaching up to cup his face delicately. Her thumb brushed the warm skin of his cheek, a spark reverberating through her entire being. I see it in your eyes. We see each other. All of it. His breath hitched, and in that fleeting heartbeat, the air around them crackled with tension that went beyond the chaos lurking outside those walls. Othello's eyes darkened with something raw, something he didn't just want to protect her from, but something he needed to share. And then something shifted. The air thickened, heavy with unspoken words, and as if drawn by some invisible force, he leaned in their lips, almost touching, a breath away from crossing that threshold they had danced around for years. Are we really going to stand here and pretend this isn't? No, Chloe interrupted, her voice wavering with emotion. No more pretending. I can't go back to that. I can't take another moment of lying to myself. This feels too real. Othello's grip on her waist tightened, grounding her amidst the whirlwind of feelings threatening to pull her under. Their foreheads touched, the warmth radiating between them almost palpable. Then let's not waste this, he pleaded softly, his voice barely above a whisper. It was the final nudge they both needed, a spark igniting the fire of emotions they had sidestepped for too long. And then they kissed, not as enemies or strangers, but as two souls intertwining amid chaos, a beautiful tapestry woven through years of hurt, betrayal, and simmering passion. It was urgency laden with promise, the taste of salt from tears unspilled and sweetness of hope lingering in the air around them. As they pulled back, breathing unevenly, their eyes met, clarity cutting through the haze of uncertainty. This was only the beginning. Whatever comes next, it's us, Othello whispered, the conviction in his voice lifting them both. Chloe nodded, her heart racing, full of hope and a touch of fear. Together, always. The tension inside the warehouse seemed to shift, an anticipation crackling in the air as the world outside began to move once more. Scene 51, The Broken Trust. The kitchen was alive with the scents of rosemary and garlic, bubbling in a pan as Chloe stood at the stovetop, stirring the risotto. The rhythmic sound of the wooden spoon against the ceramic pot, a pot aged with nostalgia, enveloped the room, each swirl weighed with memories both sweet and tinged with bitterness. She felt the warmth radiating from the cast-iron pot, but it only served to remind her of the coldness invading her heart. Chloe glanced over her shoulder at Othello, sprawled casually on a leatherette bar stool, his fingers drumming against the surface, a habit that always threatened to fracture her focus. "Everything all right?" Othello asked, his voice smooth but edged with something unspoken, like a thread pulled just taut enough to fray. "What would you know about everything being all right?" Chloe replied, the words crisp and sharp, slicing through the ambient sounds of the sizzling garlic. She didn't look at him. Instead, she let her gaze linger on the shimmering surface of the risotto. It seemed to bubble with hidden emotions, much like her own heart. "I'm trying to help," he offered, his tone laced with sincerity. Yet, the weight of their shared past felt like a chasm growing between them. Chloe turned finally, her eyes searching Othello's for signs of the man she once thought she knew. "Help? That's rich coming from you. Couldn't exactly say you've been forthcoming with the truth." Silence blanketed the room, thick and pervasive, as Othello leaned forward slightly, a look of genuine confusion blooming on his face. "What do you want me to say, Chloe?" "I want you to say that you didn't have a hand in ruining my family," she replied, her voice lowering as the accusation left her lips. The tension shifted palpably, filling every inch of the kitchen with unspoken burdens. "I didn't," he began, an edge creeping into his voice. But the intensity of her gaze drove his words into an uneasy silence. She turned away, the sight of him tightening a knot of conflicted emotions in her stomach. The silences between them swelled, heavy with accusations and memories neither could fully grasp. Instead of confronting the churning tempest, Chloe focused on stifling the sauce, brushing aside anything that hinted at her vulnerable heart. Suddenly, the doorbell chimed, jarring their fragile moment. Chloe moved toward the door with quick footsteps, her pulse racing as she heard Othello's soft intake of breath, the air thick with a hint of too much tension and not enough clarity. "Stay here," Chloe said curtly, throwing a glance back at Othello, who offered a half-hearted nod. As she opened the door, a figure slipped into view, Marissa, her exuberance as palpable as ever. "Chloe!" she cried, pulling her into an enthusiastic embrace. You won't believe the gossip I uncovered. Chloe pulled back, the warmth of her friend's presence almost instantly melting her earlier resolve. What gossip? Is it about the charity gala? I'm not going to spoil it for you, Marissa replied, a teasing smile dancing on her lips. But I heard something about... The kitchen door swung ajar, and Othello slipped behind Chloe, listening intently. The Huxleys potentially investing in something dubious. Word is there's a scandal brewing. Marissa leaned in closer, whispering as if the walls themselves had ears. Chloe's eyes darted toward Othello, watching the tension knot in his jaw. The simmering risotto heated the air thicker, but nothing compared to the heat rising in Chloe's chest, a mix of anger and hurt. You mean to say they're up to their old tricks? She asked, her voice a whisper yet laced with venom. Seems that way. And I thought of you immediately, Marissa chirped, oblivious to the shifting atmosphere. You should confront him. Chloe took a breath, feeling the weight of Marissa's suggestions splashing against her thoughts like a wave. Her gaze flicked back to Othello, who straightened slightly, his brow furrowed in contemplation. Confront who? He asked, his voice suddenly tight as he edged closer. Your family, Chloe replied, her own heart thudding uncomfortably in her chest. If they're in trouble, especially after what happened. Othello's expression darkened momentarily. You don't need to involve yourself in. Don't you dare tell me what I need, she shot back, her frustration flaring. Deep within her, love and resentment fought a bitter battle, each side pulling her in contrasting directions. Just as the air began to simmer with even more heat, both Marissa and Othello spoke at once. Chloe, wait. But she had already spun, her heart fluttering wildly as she stormed back toward the stove, feeling covered in a profound silence echoing the distance between her and Othello. Chloe concentrated on the risotto, her fingers grazing the wooden spoon, as if finding comfort in its familiarity. She could sense Othello hovering just behind her, wanting to know what lay beneath the surface. But understanding was a riddle neither could yet decipher.